We're going to get started now. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. Where the discussion today is going to be about VoIP and basically how to best utilize your VoIP connections, current practices, options, things you should look for in a VoIP solution. So basically, in a lot of ways, VoIP is moving your phone system from your office to a carrier in the cloud. So I'll kind of go through the phone system progression. Some of us still have this, some of us don't. Basically, a lot of case in points, 10, definitely 15 years ago, excuse me, sorry for the work from home disturbance. We had our phone systems in the closet. So we always had that phone system in our IT room or another place where that phone system was there. Originally, when those systems happened, we could not connect outside the office to make calls. We had to dial into the office to get our voicemails. Remember having to hit your extension, then you had to hit a code, and then you had to hit some number to delete the messages and remember all that. And we had no notification if we didn't call in to the system. And we could not make any outbound calls from the system at all. So basically, when we were home, we either used our home phone or our cell phones. Well, the next steps were we still had the phone system in the closet, and we enabled them with IP or internet connectivity. And we enabled, first part was a lot of those, even our older systems, we enabled them voicemail to email. So whenever we got a voicemail, it forwarded it to our email. We could receive it on our phone, we could receive it on our computer, and we could listen to it without having to check into the voicemail. I remember that was one of my favorite features. I think I stopped checking my voicemail on my phone pretty quickly after I got that function and just thought it was wonderful that I could click on it, hear it, and be able to act on it. Then with that, we also, with some of the systems, we were able to extend those systems outside the office. So we were able to IP enable the phone system. We were able to put phones at people's houses. We were able to extend them to a second office. And we were able to do all sorts of maturations to basically extend it through IP communications, not traditional phone wires. And that gave us a lot of flexibility in our abilities to use the phone system. However, with that, we still had issues. There is a piece of hardware we need to maintain. We have to have a support contract on that. If the system goes down and there's a problem with that phone system, you have no phones. So you could have working phones, you could have a working provider, you could have working internet, and your phone system's down. You're now waiting for somebody to repair the phone system for a service call or something else until you get phones. That physical piece needs to be upgraded, whether it needs to be replaced or a software update. That incurs downtime, incurs other problems, incurs costs. And we've also had this where some of these older phone systems that you have enabled for remote connectivity are not secure. The manufacturer stops supporting the phone system. The security patch out there. You're allowing connectivity into your office, and that opens up a hole if there's anything in the phone system for somebody to compromise your phone system and take advantage of it, maybe even get into your IT portion of your network. And it also doesn't provide the same level of business continuity. So, for instance, you have, we were saying if the phone system goes down, if you have a problem with electricity, your phone's down. You have a problem with your phone provider, you have what they call a PRI, you have Verizon, you have Windstream or other carriers, and their connection to your office goes down, you again do not have phones. You don't have multiple levels of redundancy there. So basically, there's been a big push in the marketplace towards VoIP. I think VoIP probably 10, 15 years ago got a bad name because of quality issues. The bandwidth wasn't there as much to keep the quality. Some of the carriers were a little suspect. And I think that has changed. And I think the whole work from home world has made it even quite different. So when moving to VoIP, you get all the large enterprise features at a small business price. A lot of the times when we had the phone systems on premise, we had to pay for a feature, voicemail to email, for additional ports, for having home extensions, basically everything was an add-on to the phone system. A lot of the VoIP providers provide a lot of those features at no cost. There are some contact center management queue things and other things that do have a small additional cost, but in general, it's all in one cost. Obviously, there's no more phone system in your closet. You can recover that space. You don't have to support that system. You don't have to worry about what is happening with that phone system. And this is one of the really cool ones that we have found in the world is you have web-based administration of the phone system. So we have clients right now that we will do a lot of the changes. They have found the web-based administration of these phone systems so easy that a lot of times they're like, we just make the changes on our own. So they get a new employee, they want to call forward, they want to change an extension. They just go into the system, make a change, record the voicemail, and in 5 minutes it's done. It's no weird commands, no weird pieces to know, no special software. They just log into a secure web portal and are able to make changes to people. So you got, John is resigned and you got Sally taking over. You just go to John's extension, change the name from John to Sally, put Sally's email address in there, and voila, John's extension is now Sally's extension. The phone shows Sally's name and everything's in there. And then on top of it, we have a lot more redundancy. The carriers themselves have a lot more redundancy in their systems. For instance, they have multiple data centers or multiple pieces to make sure there's uptime because it's not just you they're supporting. From an infrastructure in your office, if you have multiple internet connections and multiple pieces of a lot of clients, we have 2 firewalls. That means your whole IT system that's supporting your IT piece is now supporting access to the phones in the office. So if the primary internet goes down, we fail over to the backup internet connection and other pieces. On top of it, you have the ability to go home and take a phone home and use other pieces, but we'll get into some more of that in a few minutes. So, what are we seeing today from a work from home perspective? Even on the clients that have VoIP, we're seeing most users are simply logging into the system and forwarding the calls to their cell phones. So what does that mean? I call, 1-800-MY-BUSINESS, and I hit extension 229. And 229 actually now is forwarding to Jane's cell phone. So Jane gets a call, that's great. However, the issue is when Jane calls back now, Jane is calling back from her cell phone. So now the other side's got Jane's caller ID, Jane's piece is happening, and now when the person calls back, the person's not going to call the office number and the extension. The person is actually going to call Jane's cell phone, and which means now it's out of the loop. Your employees you've lost control of the phones because now all the customers are calling the individuals on their own cell phones. They are not calling the office numbers. It means if you have a salesperson or somebody like that, you have no control over the inbound calls when they leave. All those contacts leave with them. So those are some of the issues. For instance, in our company, 90% of our calls are going from our phone system in the office, and our people are using methods that I'll discuss in a minute. So if you use a solution where you have an ability to work from home and you have a VoIP solution, all the outbound calls are made, so hang on. So these are some of the options. I got ahead of myself. My apologies. So some of the options we have from working from home that they're using the office phone is you can install a physical phone at an employee's home. They can take their physical phone from the office, or you can have a second phone for them. You can use what they call a soft phone. We've been using quite a bit of that. That means it's an application that's installed either on your computer or your cell phone. It actually, when the phone from the office rings, it rings on the computer or the cell phone. You can pick the call up. You can make outbound calls. The calls come from the office number or the direct number of the person. So basically, it looks and feels like you're in the office. And inbound calls from your employee's point of view when buying are clearly differentiated from their personal calls. So when a call comes in, they'll see on the app that it's coming in from the office, not from their cell phone, and they don't have to give out their cell phone number to people as well. So kind of when we talk about this, if we're going this route, we got to pick a provider. So these are some of the things that I think are important and that we've come up with that we think are important you need to look at when you're picking a provider. Make sure they provide the features you need and they are easy for your employees to access. You know, we've had systems where people turn around and the system is not easy, is not simple, is not intuitive, and then your employees just won't use the feature. You know, is it easy to transfer a call? Is it easy to do a conference, a three-way call? Is it easy to get your voicemail? How easy is it for your office administration person to make some small changes? Those features, if you're using reporting, are the reporting features available to you? Can you access them? Can you see what's happening with them? The other one is, review the term of the agreement. Some providers have a 1 year, 3 year agreement. Some of them include some features when they extend the agreement, whether training or onboarding. Some have month-to-month and require upfront costs. So it depends on the system and depends what happens there. And then the other thing is, what type of phones do they support? Do they support, there's Polycom phones. We're all familiar a lot with the Polycom conference phones, but Polycom is big into the VoIP phones. So another company, Yealink, Cisco phones. What type of phone do they support? And will you need to purchase new phones? A lot of times, significant cost savings if you can repurpose your existing phones over. However, there are sometimes little caveats on switching over. If you're going to use your current phones, makes the process a little trickier. You have to have a little bit more in line. And then lastly, you got to understand the support process from the carrier. What are their hours? What's their response time? What will they take care of with you? Does it meet your needs? And generally you'll see sometimes, we've gotten case in points where, we've gotten quotes from Verizon for clients where Verizon will be the VoIP provider. And my answer kind of always has been is, how do you like dealing with Verizon on a support issue when your internet circuit's down, your voice lines are down? How would you like to deal with them on a VoIP configuration issue? From my perspective, I think a big carrier like that will get it done, but I think it's going to be frustrating. So looking at options. So right now, we basically as ITS offer two options. We use a company called FluentStream. They're a smaller carrier. Their support has been fabulous. They have a month-to-month contract. They do a lot of the onboarding with us. They have a lot of flexible features. We'll go through some of that. And then we've been recently introducing into the Microsoft Teams Business Voice product, which Microsoft is investing a whole lot of time and money into and integrating that. So we'll go through some details with those. And then we have other clients with other providers such as RingCentral, 8x8, and we support these options with our managed services clients. These are basically the options that we recommend out if somebody says, what do you want to use? So as I said, ITS is currently using FluentStream. These are some of the qualities and some of the features we've liked. The voice quality has been very, very good. The few times that there's been complaints, it's been mostly our internet. I have not found any cases where it's been the carrier. There's easy to use web administration of the system. It's intuitive. People like it. You can control the piece. You can do the call forwards as you need to. You can do the find me, follow me's in the system. You can check your voicemails in there. From an administrative point, you can make changes quite easily. They have a wide selection of phones. You can go with, as I said, the Polycoms. You can go with the Yealinks. You can go with the Cisco Small Business Series. You can decide to just go with soft phones in your office. And then there are different plans depending on the price, depending on the use. So you're not going to pay the same for an office worker as you are for a conference room phone, because conference room phone's not going to be used as much. And so it's going to have a different price point than somebody who's on the phone 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day. And they have no long-term contracts. So basically it's a month-to-month contract. If you're not happy with the service, you can go to another provider. You own the phones. You can switch over and make any changes you want. We've had nobody make that selection yet in our agreements with them. And on top of it, we've gotten great support for our customers and for ourselves. Generally, somebody gets back to us near instantaneous. They work through, they stay with the problem. Luckily, there hasn't been too many problems, but they stay with it and they work it through. And they've been wonderful during the onboarding process, which is always when the highest instance of support comes into it. So the new solution on the block is Microsoft Teams for Business, voice. Microsoft recently just got into has had a voice solution, but recently got into the small business market for voice. And that what Microsoft defines as small business, 300 seats and under. Basically, they took their solution that was for the larger enterprise and made an option for the smaller enterprise. Okay. So one of the big features you'll know is right off the bat, all your contacts from Outlook are integrated into the phone system. There are additional 365 integrations coming along in all the Microsoft products, so you'll be able to really integrate voice. For doing a soft phone, there is no additional software to install on your computer besides the Microsoft Teams client. You'll actually see on your Teams client call in your client there. If you had voice enabled, you'd be able to make the calls from there. Your calls would ring right on your computer or on your cell phone. It's all tied together. If you want traditional, there are traditional phone options you can buy. You can get Polycom actually makes a phone set for Microsoft Teams. I should say though, when you're buying the phones for the Teams, you are committing to specifically the Teams phones options. They are not portable to other carriers or other pieces. However, it's a solid solution. It's a solid piece. They also have some really, really nice integrated conference room options. So you can have a camera on your wall with a touchscreen on your conference room, microphones that you can do calls, you can do VoIP conference, you can do video conferencing. It's an all-in-one solution. You no longer need to have a separate phone on your conference room table from the solution that you have on the wall with the TV. So it's all basically there. And the other big bonus is you have one application to do your voice, your video, your chat, your files. All those options are integrated into one solution. So that is my presentation of VoIP for today. Does people have some questions that they have?
Hey, Michael, this is Beth. I've got somebody that's written in. Let's see, it says, I'm currently using VoIP and my people are using their cell phones. How do I get them to use VoIP?
I think the few buy-ins is there's a few things here. It comes down to company policy, making it clear to employees that you want calls coming from the office number and that is part of your corporate culture. You also give them the buy-in that people cannot get to them 24/7 then on their cell phones. They're still going to have the gateway of the phone system. If you still have the receptionist there, they're going to be able to take that cue. If you give them your cell phone number, there's no blocker, there's no piece, and they've now given out their personal information. They're available 24/7. I hope that answers that.
All right. Somebody's typing right now, but I'll go ahead and give you this one. What type of internet connection do my employees need when working from home?
Okay, a few pieces on that come up. If they're generally at home and they've been able to do a video conference via Microsoft Teams or Zoom, their internet is good enough, generally, because VoIP does not take the same internet as a video conference. The one caveat we get to when we talk about at home is physical phones. And this is the one issue that has come up is physical phones typically require a wired connection and do not work over Wi-Fi. So we always get into the fact that if you're going to bring a physical phone, it needs to be able to plug into your router at your house on a physical Ethernet cable. However, if you're using your computer and you're using a soft phone or using your cell phone as a soft phone, you can use the Wi-Fi in your house to make the connection, and that should work fine.
All right, I'm going to take Dan's mute off if I can. Dan has a question.
Sure.
Hi guys, we've been using VoIP for a while, LightPath, but the issue we've been having, which is what you spoke about, is now that people are working from home, some of them can't plug in their phone to their modem, so they've been forwarding to their cell phone, and now when they call back, like you said, their cell phone number is now appealing up on those calls. LightPath has a thing, but it's like $6 per user per month for them to have an app on their phone that then they call from the app and it comes up as East End's phone number. But I'm just wondering, the Fluent system that you guys are using, is there a user charge like that, or is it?
No, there is not.
Okay. Yeah, because they want $6 per person per user per month for them to be able to do that. So I was just wondering if it was a cheaper solution.
Well, you obviously have to look at the overall pricing of what they're charging per phone and everything else. So we look at the whole cost. You'd have to look at the whole cost piece of the whole solution.
Right. Okay. I was just curious if Fluent, because I think our contract's going to be up at the end of the year, so maybe we'll switch over to something that would be more, because obviously we're planning on having people work from home more often now, so it's going to be an ongoing thing.
Yep, absolutely.
Right,
thank you.
And Michael, I've got a couple more questions for you. What happens when there's a power outage? Will there be service?
Yes. So absolutely. So that is one of the beautiful parts. As I said, when you have the phone system in your office and you have a power outage, your phones are down, right? So you have a power outage now. Yes, the phones in the office won't ring because there's no power. But if you have the soft phone app on your phone, you'll ring it. If you had a physical phone in your home, it will ring. If you had your soft phone on your computer, it will ring. Basically, your office is not a place where you needs to operate for your phones to work.
Excellent. All right, one other question, and I don't think we've addressed this. Do I need to connect to Wi-Fi in order to use VoIP? No,
you do not. These days with 4G cellular, you do not need to connect to Wi-Fi. I actually discourage connecting to public Wi-Fi from a security aspect at the moment. So what we find out is that going to Starbucks, going to an airport and connecting to the Wi-Fi is not a secure solution. There's so many issues that come around that. 4G has gotten so good and so reliable that you can make the VoIP connection on your cell phone on the 4G connection. Obviously, if you're in your house, because we all have data caps and we all have those pieces, I would say, yes, use the Wi-Fi if you're home. If you're visiting a friend and you know they're secure, by all means do it. But if you're out and about in the world, please do not connect on Wi-Fi and use the 4G, and your VoIP will work, and it will work reliably as long as you have decent cell phone service in the area.
We have one more question. If anybody has any other questions, go ahead and type them in now. It's about pricing. What is the monthly charge?
That depends. Microsoft, the Teams solution is about $20 some odd before taxes, and the FluentStream solutions are per user, and the FluentStream solutions about $25 to $30 a user, and then the conference rooms are like $5 or $10 per user. So everything in a VoIP solution is built on per user model for phones. So each person who has an extension, you're paying for on that point of view, from that perspective. So when we look at the whole thing, and sometimes people look at the monthly cost, and what we've done is look at the overall cost of ownership, because you got to look at what is it going to cost you for a new phone system, what is the support contract, what does the phone lines cost you, and all that put together, and let's say put it over a 4-year period versus what does a VoIP solution come to. They're generally, the VoIP, in a lot of cases, when you start adding the features, comes out significantly less. If you're talking a plain system without voicemail enabled and other things, generally the old premise is going to be a little less money because it doesn't have the feature sets.
Michael, that's all the questions.
Okay. I'm going to say, you know, if you have any questions, please reach out and let us know. And thank you so much for your precious time. We really appreciate this, and have a wonderful, safe day. Thank you so much.